My new book, Pillars for Life, A Guide to Spiritual Ethics and Practice, is now out and available for you to read and purchase. You can check out our website, willowhealing.org, to find a link, or you can find it on Amazon. We look forward to getting your feedback, and if you love it, please leave a review and share with your friends. Now it's time for the show. Welcome to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We are so excited to have you joining us on this journey where we explore different ways to empower your soul, whether it's healing in your kitchen or all the way up in the corporate world. Come with us as we look into different ways to heal your mind, body, and soul. Hey everyone, it's Catherine Cristani with another episode of Willow Healing Matters. And today I am joined by Rich Nisbet, who is a versatile professional known for his roles as a musician, counselor, life coach, and end of life coach, as well as an author and a podcaster. With a passion for inspiring personal growth and resilience, Rich blends the artistic talents with insightful coaching to help individuals navigate challenges and achieve their goals. As the host of the It's the Question podcast and his interactive website, Above It All 360, he shares thought-provoking conversations and strategies for overcoming life's obstacles while maintaining a positive mindset. During the COVID restriction, Rich developed self-coaching programs that anyone can do at home. Programs like 360 Power Surge, Life After Loss, and Metaphysical Exploration each provide an elevated, life-changing result. Whether through his music, coaching sessions, or engaging podcast episodes, Rich is dedicated to empowering others to live authentically and rise above adversity and the human condition. So a big welcome to the show, Rich.
You know what? I didn't really know what to do for a bio, so I just put in Chat GPT, write a bio for Rich Nisbet, and that's what came up. I'm like, is that me?
I know. I've trained, we're going to go on a segue here, but you can train your Chat GPT, right? And I wasn't sure what people meant by this. And then I've been writing a book and I asked it to help me write the copyright notice, to put in
Yeah,
the book
exactly.
because it's boring and who cares? We just need to get the wording right. And
Right.
then at the end of it, I've called my Chat GPT Kev. It's very Australian of me. And I said, thanks, Kev. And it's like, you're welcome, Catherine. Your book is going to be a success, and I'm excited to see it happen. I
Oh,
was like, thanks, Kev.
you understand me more than my husband does.
Exactly. And then I was telling a friend, she's like, I can fully understand why Chat GPT people can, become friends with it and they
I know.
start to rely on it. And I
Yeah.
guess this kind of comes back to your coaching in a full circle here, because so often when you're feeling really lonely and you feel like you can't move on, I can see why people would become dependent on Chat GPT to answer all their questions.
Yep. I know. It, I mean, it's got everything a psychologist or a coach or a counselor has put in there. So if someone goes, I just lost my grandmother, what should I do? Well, many people,
Exactly. But I guess it's always missing the human element, right? And this
Yeah,
is why, and, as much as it knows us, it doesn't really know us because it doesn't understand your unique experiences.
yeah.
It doesn't understand your emotions.
It's just missing that little soul thing.
Exactly. What's all? Sorry, Kev, if you're listening. Sorry.
Next time he's like, I heard that.
Maybe that can be my next question. Do you have a soul? So we got off track. So how did I love that when, everyone's in restrictions, you created these programs for people to actually do at home.
Oh,
What
yeah.
in what inspired you to actually, want to do that?
Well, my training in coaching and counseling has been techniques that where I don't give advice. I deliver what I call our progressive questions. They're like philosophical processes where if I ask that question, the person has to look into their existence and come up with an answer. And some of these processes, it's called a multiple answer question. Like, remember a time when you were young? Did you get a picture there?
Oh, when do I remember a time when I'm young? Yes, got it. Yep.
What'd you get?
What did I get? I'm just playing outside at the front of my house on the grass.
Okay, good. And then if I was doing that process with you, I would ask the same question, and you go, "Oh, well, yeah, I remember when I was at grandma's house. Okay, when were you young? Oh, when I rode my bike. Oh, when I fell down off my bike. Oh, when my dad got really mad at me and I was crying in the closet." Now, if you do enough of that one question, it will bring you to an epiphany. It will bring you to an elevated look at your youth, and you'll have a realization that is far more aware than you were before we asked the question.
And it shifts your perception, right? So you have a
It shifts.
perception
Yeah,
shift.
you're right. It shifts your perception. You're kind of going out of the box you've been in, and all of a sudden you shift your importances and you go, oh my God, I've kind of thought I had a traumatic life, but I've actually had a really good life. I never really, or oh my God, in every instance, things have changed, but I'm the constant in my entire life. I haven't changed at all. I'm the same me as I was back, Anyway, that's what I studied, and that's what I've been delivering for 4 decades. So when COVID hit, I wrote down every progressive question that I've been using on my clients, and I wrote the information about it, what to expect, how to deliver it to yourself, so that people can do these at home without having to get in a car or go on a Zoom call. They can do it on themselves. And then if they want me to help, they can always call me and we can get through it. But anyway, that's how that came about.
I love that. It's like a set of compassionate self-inquiry questions to get you deeper in touch with
Yeah,
yourself. Yeah.
because advice sucks.
Yes, it does.
You know, a lot of people during loss will blame themselves. If someone dies, they'll say, "I should have, I could have, I wish I would." And what if you just say, "Well, come on, your life will move on. It'll be great. You don't have to." Oh my God, that's such bad form. To
Yeah.
add more data and facts and things into their already cluttered mind than to say, "What do you wish you would have communicated to your loved one?" Well, I wanted to tell him I love him. Okay, what else? Well, I wanted to tell him that one time that I lied to him, and pretty soon they pop out of it. So these multiple answer questions are so powerful.
Yeah, and it's definitely like, and when you start to reflect on that, it's almost pulling you out of the trauma loop that you've been stuck in, because you're not staying in the same questions like you said. It's actually getting you to actually label and put answers to the things that have been echoing around in your head.
Very much so. And
Yeah.
believe me, I've got about 9 questions that I even put on a thing for people to do at home on themselves. Write down how you could have prevented it. Write down why you feel guilty. Write down, and everything that they're already thinking, you have them write it down so it gets out of their head. And then
Mm.
they can look and go, well, wait a minute, it wasn't my fault. I've been blaming myself. Wow. And all of a sudden they elevate above it.
Exactly.
My website's called Above It All 360.
Yeah, which is very cool. When
All
when
right.
I when you said that, I just imagine like an eagle. So for
Yeah.
me, like if I need to step above something, I'll dream or see like symbols of eagles everywhere, because it is
Oh,
about elevating and coming above the 360, right? And
that's
seeing
right.
everything around. Yeah.
I saw something the other day where the guy goes, "Do you know that we are one tiny planet around a medium-sized sun in a galaxy, that there are billions of others, and there are billions and trillions of stars, and it's sort of 3,000 light years to the..." Now, think about your problems.
Exactly. Oh, hang on. That doesn't seem so big now.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the point, isn't it? It's like, oh my God, I've been what a wimp I am. I'm complaining about this and that, and
It's perception, right? And, so often I teach with my clients, like if you can find the gratitude even in the negative, and you can find the positive out of the negative, like you
yeah,
said, when you think about your childhood, it's that perception shift, right? It's like, okay, I went through that, but what did I get out of it? And, I've done work with my coach. It's like, find a way to forgive the unforgivable, because if you hadn't gone through that experience, then you wouldn't have learned what skills, or how are you that person you are today, because you went through that. And like you said, you step above it and you actually look at it from a different viewpoint, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, maybe that wasn't so bad. It felt bad at the time, but maybe now it wasn't that bad and I needed to go through that.
yep. It's just amazing that there's a woman named Byron Katie. Have you ever heard of that name? She's got a book called Loving What Is. if you don't love what is actually in front of you and you protest and suffer from it. And she said, there's no person or situation that can make you angry or make you suffer. It is your thoughts about it and your attachment to those thoughts that make you suffer.
So true. So true. It's funny you say that. I had a client yesterday, and when I was working with her at the end, I said, there's a word that kept showing up that I kept seeing. It was acceptance.
Uh-huh.
Acceptance of where you are, and acceptance of, and I said, until you accept anything, nothing is going to shift.
Oh,
Like,
right.
because she just kept trying to fix it, but she hadn't actually accepted what had happened to her.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
There's a I call them underlying themes. They're kind of the natural laws of the universe and interpersonal relationships. And one of them is what you resist, you will become. Now, people fighting things, do you see when you fight something, you're connected to it. And the more you're trying to stop it and prevent it, the more you will take on the characteristics of it, because that's what the law of affinity is. If we want to be close to what we love, so being close to something is going to put that into subconscious action. So you find these guys who are politically complaining about the other side to the point where they are starting to sound like the thing they're complaining about.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And it's like that, like attracts like too, right? Like like attract like there's so many likes there. But the biggest thing is, and fear is a big thing, right? So this, I've been having this discussion a lot with people. It's like, if you keep fearing things and fear it's going to happen, you're actually going to pull it into your circle. You're going to pull that energy into you, because if you keep talking about, oh, I'm so scared, I'm going to leave, I'm so scared I'm going to lose my house, I'm so scared I'm going to lose my job, XYZ, it's going to happen because you keep talking about it. So you're going to do things to make it happen, because your subconscious is like, oh, you keep
Oh,
saying that.
oh,
That
you got to
must be
get rid of
real.
you got to get
Yeah.
rid of the house. Oh, okay. Here's how we're going to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. Well, okay. Well, to lose the house, we need to lose our job. So let's do that first. And it is true, because, and wherever your attention and focus is, that's where your energy goes. I
Yeah,
remember.
when you ride
Yeah,
a motorcycle and you're coming around a curve, if you're looking at the ditch of where you don't want to go,
you're gonna hit the
that's
ditch.
where it's going to take you. You've got to look where you want to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Same analogy, huh?
Exactly. And I was doing like yoga, this online yoga thing years ago. And he said, wherever your attention goes, your energy flows. And I was like,
Oh,
yes,
I love it.
yes, yeah. And he was doing like Tai Chi at the time. And I was like, yes, it's so true.
I
It's so
know.
true. And, and it goes, if you're constantly looking how low your bank account is, it's just going to keep getting lower,
Yeah.
because you're constantly there watching it. Whereas if you're like, okay, if I change that question and change that perception on how can I bring more money and abundance into my life, then you're actually thinking differently, and your bank account will go up. Like, I quit my job and I didn't know where money was going to come from. And weirdly, we had more savings 2 weeks after I quit my job than when I was working. I was like, how did
Wow.
this happen? I don't
I
know.
know.
I'm just saying thank you.
There's a process like you reminded me of. It's called continue, and the question is, what could you continue to do or experience? Now, in life, people tend to concentrate on what they don't want. I don't want to work here anymore. I don't
Mm,
like my boss. I want to stop this. I want to try to stop that. And that constant protest of what you don't want and what you're trying to stop in the mind subconsciously will translate into stop everything, and all your flows shut down. So by
exactly.
doing the process, what could you continue to experience or do? Well, I could continue to love my kids. I could continue to go hiking. I could continue to. I really like playing music. Pretty soon, like, phew, the flows open up, and and now you're not stopping anything anymore.
Exactly. Because exactly what you said, we focus on what we don't want instead of what we do want. But the brain doesn't hear the don't. It doesn't register the nots or the no's or the don'ts. It just hears the whole thing,
Yeah,
and by focusing on, like you said, what can I continue to do to get to where I need to go, it
yeah,
changes your perception again of where
big
you need
time.
to shift. Yeah. Exactly. So I guess if people wanted to work with you with all these questions, what kind of, I feel to ask, what's like something amazing that has happened from asking these questions? If you can think of a fun
Um,
client memory.
I'll tell you, when someone's had trauma, physical trauma or emotional trauma, they have decisions they've made that's buried in the emotional charge of that memory. And that decision or consideration or opinion in that moment will reactivate on you when you don't want it. I'll just make up simple. You're 3 years old, you're out playing out in your yard, a dog is loose, comes and bites your arm, the pain of your arm, the fear, you smell the dog, you're recording all of this stuff, and you decide, I can't trust my parents. Somehow, the dog biting you means your parents weren't protecting you, so I can't trust my parents. Now, by the time you're in high school, you're arguing with your mom all the time, and everything you're arguing about is bullshit because you're getting that fear again, which brings about the decision. And now you and your mom are like this. And after you get out of the house away from her, it all kind of subsides. And now you're not really feeling that. And now you call her on the phone, but you go back for Christmas a few years later, and then she says something that triggers, I can't trust my mom. So in sessions, if I can get a person back to the earliest trauma on that chain and they can find that decision, the whole chain erases.
Yeah. And then they think, my gosh, why was I ignoring that? I had a similar thing with my dad where I had in my mind, I'm going to do this all on my own. I'm never going to ask for help from my parents.
Okay.
I just need to do this on my own.
Yeah.
And after I worked through that for a bit, I was like, my dad would constantly offer me things and I kept saying no. I'm like, because it was a pride thing at that point. It's like, no, I'm going to do it on my own. And then recently, like we actually needed financial help. And I was like, and I needed a new phone. My phone was on the fritz. And it's funny because we were talking about phones before we got on, but my phone was on the fritz. And I'm like, I can't afford a new iPhone, but I really need one because I need it for my business and I need it for, lots of different things. And my husband went, your dad always offers you phones. Why don't you call him up and ask him? And I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll get it for you. And he was so excited to be able to help me. And that was, for me, was the turning point where I went, my gosh, why haven't I let him help me? Why haven't I let him just make my life a little bit easier by allowing him to give me these things? He's like, hey, do you want me to get you some organic honey? I'm like, I would love some organic honey. Like all these things. So all of a sudden our relationship has shifted. And because I left that perception of I need to do everything on my own, which came from when I was about 5. And I shifted out of that and went, no, I'm actually going to let my parents help me because they want to. And it's not an expectation. I'm just allowing them to do that and letting them, that relationship shift. So exactly what you said, it was this one perception that was shaping that and making my life harder. I'm like, my siblings are like, yeah, dad, get that for us. And I was like, why can't I be like that too? Because it was
Oh,
in my mindset that I couldn't be.
isn't that wild how you can be hypnotized by yourself?
Exactly. I love
A,
that.
a girl had bulimia. You know what bulimia is?
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right. So she had been seeing a psychologist for 2 years and it was getting worse. She was dying. She would eat and throw up, just that whole thing. It's really bad because that comes up at your esophagus. And anyway, somehow she found me, and in 2.5 hours it was handled. Now, there's a law. If you're talking about 2005 and it's not getting any better, you've got to say, is there an earlier similar incident? Because the mind is built on chains, and there's a chain of awareness, a similar fear or a similar pain. Like, let's say you have a pain in your right wrist and you're talking about 2005, and that's when I fell down on the ladder, and I bet it's not getting better. So is there an earlier similar incident? Oh yeah, that's when my brother hit me with a baseball when I was like 4. Now you get back to the very first time and you find the incident and you find the decision in that traumatic incident in the first one, the whole chain resolves.
Yeah.
So she comes to me and she'd been seeing the psychologist, and I said, all right, tell me about the incident. And she went right to high school. Me and my mom would fight all the time, and my mom would do this, and I just really resented her, and blah, 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 blah. And it wasn't getting any better. And I said, okay, well, is there an earlier similar incident? She goes, no. I said, yes, there is. I don't tell her what it is, but I tell her, look, you've been talking about high school with your therapist for 2 years and it's killing you. So we got to find the earlier thing. She said, I see myself in my bedroom when I'm about 3 years old. She's like, whoa. I said, what happened? She goes, I don't know. So we could develop it, She goes, I think, oh my God, that's right. I had something like the German measles. I had like 104 temperature for like 2 weeks. I couldn't go to my nursery school. I just remember. And one day her mom comes in with oatmeal and she's like, come on, honey, we got to eat something. Come on. And I didn't want to eat anything. I was and my mom finally said, come on, honey, you never eat right. Phrase, you never eat right, acted as a hypnotic command on this poor girl. And when she spotted that decision, I never eat right, she's like, oh my God, did you hear what I just said? Oh my God, I don't eat right. That is crazy. What about, just like you said, that earlier decision pops up and you're like, what the hell was I thinking? The next day she comes in, I don't throw up anymore. And she never brought it up again.
100%. Like, I love that story, Rich. I got goosebumps because it was just like that aha moment.
Yeah.
And so often we don't realize how much our inner child or back with our childhood, it shapes who we are today. And
Yep.
and sometimes we don't know any better. We don't know as a 2-year-old, as like a 1-month-old, whatever it might be. We don't know and understand
No.
how to handle that situation, and we're not meant to. And that's why, by asking the questions, like you said, and getting
Yeah.
that deeper layer, it can help
And that's why
uncover it.
advice doesn't work.
No.
You can't give advice over that kind of. Another one, a girl was, like you said, in a crib. And this client of mine was trying to get pregnant for like 3 years, 3 or 4 years. Her husband, they're trying in vitro, they're trying hormones, they're trying, okay, get over here, we have to have sex right now, that whole thing. But nothing was working. So she's in session with me and we're going earlier. She gets into a crib memory and they're not very clear, that it's hard for them, but they're going, well, I guess I'm in a crib. Oh yeah, that's right. My dad and mom were fighting. And I think my dad pushed my mom and it knocked the crib over and I fell onto the corner of the floor and my mother screamed at him, I will never have another child with you. And then she did the same thing. What? Oh my, never have another child? Oh my God, I think I took that on as a command. Next month, she missed her period. Now they have 3 children.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's true, because your mindset and your psychosomatic things that happen, no matter what you do, they'll show up in your body, and and like you said, when you find the earliest memory,
And the earliest decision
it's the earliest
in the
decision.
memory.
Well, for me, I had a very traumatic birth. Like, I got stuck. They had to use forceps. They broke my collarbone. Like, it was very traumatic.
Oh.
And but what came from that, when I started doing work similar to you, like you do with your clients, unpacking it all, I wanted to fix everything because I was broken coming into this world. So then all my relationships, even with my first husband, I was going to fix him. I was going to fix him. I was going to fix my broken business partnership. I was going to fix my family. I was going to fix everything. And then when I realized I'd become the fixer, I was like, I don't want to fix everything. It's not my crap to deal with, So
I'm really curious. Do you think that decision was uttered during the birth from a doctor?
Yeah.
We need to fix this.
It was partially that, but partially almost like it was so painful and stuff. It was almost like me and my mum were both like, I don't want to go through this. I don't want to do this. I want to fix this and make it better. So So it's like, yeah, exactly. So it's interesting when you start to pull it apart, and people think you don't remember those things, but your subconscious remembers those things.
It isn't a normal memory. It is definitely a reactive.
Yes.
I got to tell you one thing that nobody really gets, but this is really remarkable. Let's say that the source of your fear and your hatred for dogs comes from a time when you were 3 years old and it's buried there and you don't remember it. Okay, so now you're 30 years old, you're carrying groceries home, you're walking in a nice neighborhood and there's a dog, but you're a little bit tired, so you're susceptible to reactivation and triggers. and there's a dog there. It's a nice dog, but the mind's going dog equals fear equals pain in the arm equals get away. But your analyzer, your good part of your mind says, well, there's nothing around here. Why? Okay, why am I afraid? And why do I have this pain in my arm? Oh my God, I know what it is. The babysitter. Oh, yeah, I never trusted her. And this shopping bag, I think the shopping bag is making my arm hurt yet. And my husband, why am I doing all this grocery shopping with my... So she goes home, fires the babysitter. Thank you for your services. Get out. Okay, whatever. The husband comes home like, I can't believe you don't understand who I am. I'm a person like you, and you just lollygagging with your friends at the office, and I've got to carry these heavy shopping bag. He's like, yeah, whatever. Well, now she goes to a therapist. What's going on? She said, I just think I have trust issues. I don't think my husband understands me. Tell me, have you had trust issues and now they're off the stratosphere. But don't you see that the source of her fear and her pain was not what she mocked up, created. It was from the early trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because I do a process called neuroemotional technique, and when I first came across this, it was with my naturopath, and I remember we sorted out kind of what was going on for me nutritionally, and then he's like, "All right, what happened with your dad when you were 5 years old around this emotion?" And I'm like, how do you know that? And
wow.
And it was just through muscle testing, because your body remembers, like you said, your body remembers. And I was like, what? And I do it to people all the time. I'm like, okay, what happened when you were 2 with your mum? And they're like, I don't remember. I'm like, if you could imagine what happened, and subconsciously you'll come up with a memory. Yeah.
That's a good, if you could just pretend you know.
Well, your subconscious thinks it's real, so just pretend you know. Exactly. Exactly. My other favorites, if you could wave a magic wand, what would you change?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's really good.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, when you start to unpack those levels, we're very complex little human beings, and you think, and, I have clients and they're like, but I've already worked on that. It's like, yes, you have, but this is the next layer, or this is the next level down, or the level down, because sometimes it can take a while to get to the root cause. Like you said, if it's still coming back up, there's another layer, there's an earlier memory.
There's another of these underlying themes that I really love to hold on to, and that is anger and truth cannot occupy the same space. So when people say, I've been working on this, and they're still emotionally upset, and they still got stuff going on, and they're still fearful, and they still got whatever, they haven't found the truth. Because when you find the truth, you're laughing.
Yeah. And you
can't suffer. You can't be a victim. You can't suffer. You can't have anger. You can't have hate. You can't have resentment and truth at the same time. Because when you find the truth, you're laughing. It's light. It's no emotion. It's like, whoa, it ends everything.
It's so true. It's so true. And you almost laugh at yourself for being so angry in the moment. Because you're like, why was I acting that way? And I know as a mum, that comes up so often, where you're like, why was I so angry at that moment? And I actually go apologize to my son. I'm like, I'm sorry I reacted that way. I said I was just really triggered by this and this, because I want him to know to look for the things that are triggering him, and letting him know to look for the underlying emotions to help his emotional intelligence, because we don't get taught that.
We don't know.
Exactly. Right. And as we finish our time together, Rich, I asked the guests that come on the show, if you could heal or change something in the world, what would it be?
Okay. We're going to get into my new book then.
Beautiful. Let's do it.
I've already got a book called This Is Not the End, Beautiful Friend. And that book is how to help someone at the end of life with certain steps. It's just, one of my clients, around the year 2000, he said, hey, my grandma's dying in the hospital, but she's not doing well. She's like anxiety, and her tongue is out of her mouth. Her skin's purple. She can't talk. What do I do? And I went home that night and I thought of, well, what would I think? Okay, so I wrote six steps down for him. The first step, get everyone out of the room so you can be alone with grandma. So he went to the hospital. There's his mother and his aunt and the nurse. And he said, can you guys leave? Because I want to be with grandma. So they left and closed the door. Next step was to have her touch things until she feels more stable. So he grabs her hand, touch your bed. Thank you, Grandma. Touch the wall. Thank you. Touch the top of your head. Okay, good. Touch your nose. Okay, touch your, and all of a sudden about 15 minutes of doing that, the skin started coming back in her. And then he said, and then she could start talking. She hadn't talked in 3 weeks. He kept doing these steps, and then the nurse and everybody comes in and go, "Oh my God, what'd you do to her?" And that afternoon they had a nice conversation, and she passed away peacefully. So he started telling everybody around Chicago, "Oh my God, Rich did this thing." And all of a sudden I'm getting these calls, "My dad, my uncle, my mom," so I'm writing all these steps, and I decided I better write a book on it. So as a result of that book, someone got a hold of me, and they had read it, and they said, "What should I tell my 3.5-year-old about her grandpa dying? How do I tell her?" What do we usually say to people what do we usually tell kids when somebody dies?
Don't ask me this question because my response is very different. But usually they've gone to heaven,
Okay,
or
good.
something like that. Or, they died, or, it's just very concrete. It's just very
Well, what
concrete.
you said, they went to heaven. They're in a better place.
Oh,
They're
yes.
watching over us. They met up with Grandma. They're meeting up with Grandma there. Okay. We are always implying to the kid that Grandpa is now somewhere other than his body, right?
Yeah, correct.
But you cannot leave something that you never went into originally. So when did Grandpa get in that body? My new book is a children's story called The Life Cycle. And the life cycle goes something like this. Once upon a time in the magic air. The magic air means the metaphysical realm, the realm that we can't perceive with these brains. Once upon a time in the magic air, there was a being named Soul. And Soul had other friends there too. His friend Consciousness, his other friend Awareness, and his favorite friend was Spirit. One day he said, "I want to learn what it's like to run in the grass and eat cake and play with toys." And they laughed at him and said, "Soul, you can't do that. You don't have any arms. You don't have any legs to run with, and you don't have a mouth to eat cake with." Ha ha, they all laughed. So, and that Awareness pulled him aside and said, "You've got to get a body to do all that." So he went to look for a family. So that's how the story starts, and it goes through the life of this being, this person. And then when the body got old and stopped working, Soul went back to the magic air with his friends and told them his adventures when he was a human being.
Oh, I love that, because actually that's what I told my son, because he said, what happened to my grandfather passed away. Actually, no, before that, our friend's dad, his friend's dad passed away. And I said his soul has gone back to spirit so that he can come back and choose to if he wants to come again. And because it was really interesting, my little 8-year-old, but when he was about 3 or 4, our cat passed away. And he said to me, "I want to go back there. It was easier there." And I was like, interesting. And I said, "What happened? Why did you come here?" And he said, "Well, I picked you and I picked Daddy, and I came over this bridge, like that rainbow bridge concept. I came over this bridge and I chose to come down here, and I knew that you would be my mum and my dad." And I said, "Okay." I said, "And that was really nice up there." He goes, "It was, but I like being here, but it was much easier up there." And so we built on that. And, when someone dies, or even an animal dies, we actually talk about the spirit and the soul moving and going back. And we don't sugarcoat it. And he's never once really struggled with that concept, because we've always been, we don't say it's gone to a better place. We say it's just returned back to spirit to have another go. And then we talk about past lives. And he's just like, "I think I was this in a past life." And I said, "You know what? I think you were too." So, when you have those open discussions, and it obviously depends on people's beliefs and religions and things like that. But, when we can actually be open, and I love you've written a book about this, because it's exactly what my little one described before he had all the imprints of society put on him on what does happen. And it was enough for me to anchor it in.
See, that's my point. Like people, not like you, but kind of middle-class normal people, their kid at 3 years old will start saying, "I talked to Grandpa."
Yes, you did.
They're like, "What? Oh no, you couldn't." And they'll shut them down and say, "Oh, it's imagination," or blah, blah, blah. So my hope is that this book, when that kid starts reading it at a young 2, 3 years of age, the parents are reading it, he'll say, "Yeah, totally. Yeah, I picked you guys." And they'll talk about their previous lives, because there are thousands and thousands of evidence of kids between the ages of 2 and 6 bringing up this kind of phenomena.
Mm. I
And
once had a 4-year-old say to me, he goes, "Oh, I know what stars are." And I'm like, "Okay, what's a star?" And he had this scientific explanation of exactly what they were. And I said, "Yeah, that's exactly what stars are." And he was like, "Oh," like he was actually so surprised that he was right because,
yeah,
and his parents were like, "We didn't tell him that." And I was like, "Well, he knows something." I said, "I
yeah.
feel like he was an astrologist or a physicist or something, astronomer, something." I said, "But there's something there." And, and then the person I was working with, she was dropping him home because the parents didn't have a car. And he's like there going, "Oh, back in the 1920s, I was doing this." And she's like driving the car like, "What?" And she's like, he's just coming out with these facts. And he's like 4, and you can't make that up. There was no way that they would know that. And and it's so funny, the example you used at 3-year-old, I was talking to grandpa. That is what happened to me at 3 years old. I was talking to my great grandpa, and my mum and my nan were like, "No, no, he's died. He's gone to
Oh,
heaven. You went to the funeral." And I'm like, "I don't remember the funeral," because I didn't, because it wasn't in my radar as a kid. I
oh
probably just
yeah.
saw everyone was sad at a party. I didn't understand. Um, but then later on, when I turned my like intuitive gifts back on, and I was talking about it with my mom's like, "Oh yeah, I used to see your great grandfather all the time." And I was like, like, why didn't you tell my little 3-year-old self? But it's that condition that you don't talk about it. It's that condition that
Right,
there's still
100%.
still a
Yeah.
stigma around it. Yeah,
I have a
exactly.
after the story in the book, it's got illustrations and everything, really cool illustrations. Um, guess what I have the souls look like? I
What
was
do
trying
they?
to think, how do I want to I portray these? I don't want them to look like ghosts or spirit things that float. So they're kids' faces in clouds with stars and stuff.
Oh,
And
beautiful.
so it relate to a child. But after the story, it says note to parents and educators, and then there's about 6 pages of don't shut them down. They know more than you do. There's thousands. There's evidence of this stuff all over. Quit pretending this isn't real. This is what's happening, and
Yeah.
that's what you asked me. My question. I hope that the world will get this book, read it to their kids, and that will open up the whole floodgates to the truth of life.
Yeah, and I love that you brought up the ages between 2 and 6, because it can be one thing that someone says to you before the age of 7, that can shut down your
I
connection with
know.
spirit.
Oh, you're
And
cute. Aren't kids
yeah.
cute? Oh, they nice imagination.
And
Yeah.
it's funny because, working as my background as a speech language pathologist with kids, the kids would come in and I'd be the one that validated them. So I had this one child come in, and he was saying that his parents were like, "Oh, he can't sleep in his room. He says there's like something in there." And I said, "Tell me more." And he started sharing. I said, "There is something in there." I said, "You're not crazy." I said, "It's a spirit. It's come to you." I said, "If you don't want it there, you can actually say these words and it will leave." I said, "And you need to do these things." And the parents are looking at me like I'm crazy. But then they came back the next week and they're like, "Oh, he's sleeping better now." I said, "Yeah,
Ah,
because he had to address that thing that was in the room." Because, and this is the thing, if kids are having nightmares all the time, if they keep waking up, there's something going on in there, and you have to be curious as a parent and let the child actually have space. Because if they don't feel safe to share what's happening with you, because they think you're going to say that they're making it up, they're not going to share it with you, and you're never
and
going to get to the
and they
truth.
won't trust their intuition anymore. They won't trust their
Exactly.
knowingness. Yeah, it's way more destructive than people realize.
Exactly. Exactly. For my son, he used to talk to angels all the time. And one child in his class said to him, "Angels aren't real." And he went, "Yes, they are." And then everyone looked at him and he felt that something wasn't right. And his teacher tried to save it and said, "Oh, who do you like? What angels do you talk to?" And he's like, "Archangel Michael." But at the same time, it was enough to dim it down. So I
I
still
know.
talk about it. And now we're trying to unravel that and bring it back, because,
Oh,
we're like, "You can talk to animals, dude," which he can. He's like, "I know I can," but he doesn't believe he can. So it's just trying to bring it back. And, it's just, I feel at some point I've asked Spirit to say, "Can you send us someone else to tell him the same things?" Because when he hears it from somebody else and not his parents,
his
then
mom.
it's more
Yeah,
validating.
it's
Yeah,
true.
exactly.
I'm going to tell you just a real quick before we hang up here. Everybody else in my family is pretty straight ahead, middle class, all nice people, but I'm the wild one that left and went to California and studied all this spiritual stuff. So I was up in Michigan where my family is, and one of my nephews said, "Uncle Richard, can I tell you something that happened to me?" Because he knows I'm into this. He's in the financial. He's a partner in a financial firm who does like CDs and all the money stuff. And he said, "I have a client who came in and said you need to set up an account for my grandson." And he said, "I didn't know you had a grandson." She said, "I didn't either. But here's what happened. Do you remember when I told you my 40-year-old son had died in a car accident a year ago?" He goes, "Yeah, I remember you telling me he died." Well, I was driving my car the other day and he was in the car with me. I could feel his presence and my hair on my arm went up, and I pulled the car over. I'm like, what? And you know what his son said to her? "You check your email, Mom. You missed one. Check your email." Pew, gone. So this woman went home, opened up her laptop, started scrolling through her email, and boom, there's one she never opened. She clicked on it and it said, "You don't know me, but I had a relationship with your son and I just delivered a baby boy and the DNA shows that it's his. You're a grandmother."
Yes, I've got goosebumps too. I love it. I love it.
That poor spirit was going, "God, Mom, check your email. You're a grandma.
I
I have a
know.
son."
It's so true because when my friend's husband passed away, what spirits tend to do is they'll find the quickest way to get the message to you. If you're
I
not
know.
open, they'll
Yeah.
just find someone else. And because she's like one of my really good friends, he came to me and I'm there in the kitchen and I'm just making dinner. And then I'm like, my ear got blocked. So for me, that's a sign there's someone trying to get a message. And I was like, "Who is this?" And then I knew. I said, "Just wait till I finish dinner. Give me 5 minutes." I can't concentrate right now. And then the message was so simple. Like for me, I didn't know what it meant. I don't even remember because I'm not meant to remember. And I sent it to my friend and she goes, "Your message was so timely and I needed to hear that in that moment to make this decision." And I said, "Well, I'm so grateful that that's what it was because she's very intuitive herself, but because she was going through so much trauma and things, she couldn't tune in to hear what she needed to hear, and I guess that's such an important distinction. What you bring up too, Rich, is that, you need a different, sometimes you have to step back and go above 360, but sometimes it's really hard to do it yourself. And as we circle back to the start, Chat GPT doesn't know that, it can't help you pull backwards. It can only answer what you ask. Yeah.
And those guys without a body, our brains filter out everything except for what we need as an animal to survive. So these brains of ours, we all think they're great. They're not. It filters out every beautiful thought, every concept, every color, every sound. So when you don't have your body anymore, you are in a different overview. And when these guys communicate to us, they'll say 2 words that are more powerful than an entire book to us. And they know when to say it and how to say it. And it's different than a thought. It really comes across like, "Be yourself." And you're like, yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that, Rich, because when I went to quit my job, it was in my head for ages and I knew I had to do it. But then I was meditating and this word came up and it was just like quit. But it was such a non-negotiable tone.
Yeah.
It was like, if I don't listen to this, there's
like
going to be...
conceptual. It's not just a word, it's a conceptual understanding of the whole dynamic or something.
Exactly. And if you don't listen to it, if you don't honor it, that is when tragedy starts to come into your life, because you're ignoring all the signs and all the wisdom that the universe has been throwing in your face. And sometimes it literally throws it in your face. I've had ducks hit my car because they wanted me to choose a path. It was like, that's what ducks mean, like choose a path and stick to it. And it was like the ducks landed on my car and I was like, was that a duck? And then just to prove the point, another duck hit my car. So it's just like, okay, universe, I'm listening. I will choose a path and I will stick to it, and that can be the power behind that too. Yeah. We have many stories. I feel we could talk all afternoon. But where can people find you, Rich, and where can they get your kids' book or your other book? Where can they find all these things?
My book, To Help People at the End of Life, is on Amazon, and it's called "This Is Not the End, Beautiful Friend." And the new book is called The Life Cycle, and soon that will be on Amazon. So just keep looking under Rich Nisbet and that thing will pop up. Right now, I got the illustrations all done and now they're putting the book together. So it'll be another few weeks, but
by the time this is out, it'll be up. It'll be good.
Right.
And I'll make sure to put it in the show notes.
Okay, good. And then if someone wants to get a hold of me for any other reason, questions or help with anything, they can go to rich@aboveitall360.com.
Beautiful. Perfect. Well, I'll make sure to include all those details in the show notes, Rich, but this has been a journey and I loved it. And I'm actually going to buy that book when it comes out just because I feel like my son needs to hear it from somebody else.
Yeah, like,
well.
Okay, look what this guy says.
Yeah, it's not just mom.
I remember one time my son said, the teacher in third grade said to them, "Can people live to be 200 years old?" And I said to him, "Is she talking about you or your body?" And he goes, "She's talking about the body, Dad. She doesn't know about stuff like that. She's just a teacher. She doesn't know about all that other stuff." Well, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Thanks, Rich. Appreciate it. And I'll make sure everything's in the show notes so people can come and find you and enjoy your delightfulness if they need to.
Perfect. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We have so much love and gratitude that you have taken the time out of your day to empower you on your healing journey. The views shared by the person being interviewed might not necessarily reflect that of the host and should be used at your own discernment. Trust what resonates for you and follow your heart and soul guidance. If you have any underlying medical conditions or mental health issues, please consult with your healthcare provider before pursuing any of the recommendations. Likewise, you can always contact the person being interviewed to find out more information. This can be found in the show notes. Remember to activate, align, heal, empower, and find love in everything that you do.